Boston, the winningest sports city this century. Each championship deriving from a plan. Join us as we discuss the next Boston Banner Blueprint with your hosts, Josh Finkel, Nick Walsh, and Nate Philbrook.
What is up, everybody? Episode 27, long overdue episode 27 of the Boston Banner Blueprint podcast is finally here. We're going through a lot tonight, but before we do that, Nate has a message for you all.
Of course, we are starting every episode with exactly where to find us, and that starts on Twitter/X at Boston Banner BP, Boston Banner Blueprint on both Facebook and Instagram, and then boston.banner.blu on TikTok. Go ahead and like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, and share with your friends and family on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And then every interaction you guys have with us, whether it's on the socials or through the streaming platforms, helps us tremendously. So please go ahead and do that and then share with the friends and family. So let's get this roller coaster of an episode going, because I can't wait for this.
Yeah, but before we do, I just want to take a moment and congratulate PT on graduating college yesterday. Round of applause for PT. Now he can finally do his job and get more content out there for all of our fans. So happy that he's finally out of school and we can get back to our regularly scheduled programming. But
you got to congratulate yourself, man.
For what?
Graduating.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Yeah, a little round of applause for you.
Oh, well, he walked across the stage, but we don't have proof that he graduated.
I saw it. He opened it up. It wasn't empty. It wasn't an empty one.
I was surprised. I was as surprised as you are. But it's Celtics time. Celtics playoffs. They won the first round, beat the Magic pretty handily, and then now we're in New York and things are not looking great. I'm fine. I know we're going to be all right. But Nick, talk to everyone about what's going on.
So I think by now everyone knows the story of how this series has gone. I jokingly at the beginning of the series did not give the respect to the Knicks that we probably should have. I jokingly said I would bet the Celtics in 3 if it was mathematically possible. Clearly, that's come back to bite me in the butt. But all things considered, out of 2 quarters of this series, the Celtics have clearly been the better team. They just have gone through stretches of playing CTE basketball, as I like to call, with their heads up their rear ends. But all 3 games, they've had at least a 20-point lead. All 3 games. So that tells me for the vast majority of all the games, they're in control. They're the better team. Clean up the little details. They will be fine.
Yeah, and I think personally you're giving the Knicks too much credit. And one thing that hasn't really been discussed enough is when there has been a pope while Joe Mazzulla has been the head coach of the Boston Celtics, they shoot.
I was hoping you would bring this up.
When there's not a pope, which is a small sample size, it's 2 games, they shoot 17% or 19% from 3. Obviously, game 3, there's finally a new pope, and they shot a little bit better. But, I mean, they were 12 or 19 in the first half last night, right? Yesterday.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the 3-pointers because it's been driving me nuts from the old heads saying they shoot too many threes, and the threes were the issue, and not hitting the threes were an issue. In the first 2 games,
the way I'm looking at it is if we make 2 of the 76 threes we missed, it's a 3-0 series.
I'm not even looking at that. You built a 20-point lead by shooting like crap, just like you did in the fourth quarter. The problem is in the fourth quarter, you stop rebounding, you stop playing defense, and then it snowballed on you. You had a 20-point lead shooting the same percentage from 3. So logically, that would tell you you can build a lead and be sustainable without hitting the 3. You just can't do it by not hitting the 3 and not doing all the little things. In the fourth quarter of game 2, they gave up 6 offensive rebounds on 8 second chance points. And Fink, I know you play basketball, and I'm going back to basketball 101 here. What's easier for an offensive to score, out in transition or a set offense, half court offense? It's transition. You get out and run. And
I thought I got to answer. You asked me a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Well, I was
Transition.
just throwing it at you.
I played like
Yeah.
Giannis.
So if you're the Celtics and you're constantly taking the ball out from underneath the hoop and having to go back and inbound it, you're letting the Knicks set up the defense, which makes it harder to score on offense. And the Knicks are getting out on transition. They scored 28 transition points in game 2. It all stems back to how they play defense and how they rebound. I can care less about the shooting because water eventually finds its level, and that's what you saw in game 3. Like, the worst thing you could tell a 3-point shooting team is to stop shooting threes. Because once you do that, you're taking away what they do best. Could you imagine Steve Kerr telling Steph Curry to stop shooting threes if he went 0 for 7 in the first half? You wouldn't. So why would you tell the Celtics, who for over a 2-year sample size have won 80% of their games by shooting the amount of threes that they do at a high volume because they lost 2 games back to back? You want to throw out 2 years of a sample size for 2 games. That makes no sense in the world. So why do you want, and I'm saying you, not to you, Fink, but the old heads out there, why do you want them to throw out their system? Because it doesn't look like it did back in the 80s when Bird and Michael played. Could you imagine the 86 Celtics if Kevin McHale could shoot from 30 feet or Robert Parrish? Like, the reason why these guys do it, it would have been. And you can't tell me that wouldn't have been entertaining. But they couldn't back then, or at least they didn't think to do it back then and didn't work on it. These guys do. Porzingis is 7'3" and he can hit from 35 feet.
Speaking of Porzingis,
not to get too deep in. Okay. Worried? I'm curious about him. Like, I want to know what this virus is because I think I might know.
So I was doing some digging on TikTok.
If you say it's COVID.
No, it's not. That's not what I'm going to say. I was doing some digging.
That's where you're going.
It led me to a Twitter thread about Porzingis, and under it was a Latvian account, and I translated it, and the tweet they posted was something along the lines of that he smokes a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to say what I'm not going to accuse a kid.
Did it say what? No, it didn't say what. It just said that he smokes a lot with a lot of cigarette emojis.
I'm not going to accuse a guy of something that we have no proof other than a brown source check mark on Twitter.
Hey man, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just shedding some. I'm going someone close to the scene.
And what's that, Pink?
The source is fairly close to the situation, I would say. They were speaking in Latvian.
Okay. But back to the threes, it's like they have to shoot threes in order to generate their offense. Like take the Tatum pick and roll. Tatum usually calls up Porzingis, Horford, Cornet, one of the big guys. Why? So he can get the opposing team's center on him. That's why you see Cat on Tatum. That's why you see Mitchell Robinson on Tatum. And a center trying to stay up with Tatum is not a good matchup. Tatum can blow by that center. But usually the centers back off a bit because they know they can get beat. And if Tatum doesn't at least threaten to shoot that shot at the top of the three-point key and make it or miss it, I don't care. He has to throw some up to draw that center out so you can get to the basket, and you're either going to get a layup or a dunk, or you're going to get a driving kick and you're going to get Holiday open. You're going to get White open. You're going to get Al open in the corner or whatever. Or if at the top of the pick and roll, they try to double team Tatum, then you got Porzingis at the top of the key that we know he can hit. It comes back to it's the complete role reversal of how everyone grew up trying to play basketball. You always grew up thinking you got to establish 2 to set up 3. today's NBA, where everyone can shoot at a high rate and everyone's a sniper, you shoot the 3 to set up the 2. And when you have guys, everybody on that Celtics team, other than Luke Cornett, can snipe. So you're not going to take away the best thing that they can do because they go into a cold streak, because water eventually finds its level, which we saw in the first half last night. Because also 12 for 19 is also not sustainable. But it's the other side of the spectrum. Yeah. But what I'm saying, for a long stretch of time, just like the 20 or 25% in games 1 and 2 wasn't going to be sustainable. Like, they're eventually going to snap out of it. Now, the question was, were they going to snap out of it before they went down 0-3? And they did. And now, basically, you got to do it all over again tomorrow night on Monday. Like, you can't go back to the Garden down 3-1, but you certainly couldn't have gone down 3-0 in Game 4. Grab Game 4, make it a best of 3 series, and learn to win at goddamn home, because no one in the NBA can win at home right now. Home teams are what, 3-10 in the second round? It's the NBA has gone on upside down in the second round. Like,
one thing I want to pick your brain about. Let me ask you this. Nate,
Okay.
how are you feeling?
Good.
All right, Tony.
Great insight, Nate.
I'm feeling, after Game 3, I feel a lot better. Obviously, taking a game in New York, but the real decider is the next one. We gotta even the series up, and as Nick said, make it a 3-game series.
I'll just remind all the listeners that I did pick season 6, so they did have to lose 2 games at some point. So, just saying.
Yeah, it's still season 6. I mean, I think they're going to be fine. They're going to light it up again tomorrow. I'm not worried. But Nick, let's get back to it. Let's talk about the. All right, so changing things up a little bit. Let me ask you this, Nick. How do you feel about Joe Mazzulla?
For the vast majority, as I always do, I haven't changed. Would I have liked a timeout at the end of Game 2 on that final possession? I think the resounding answer is yes. But he, to his credit, he went on Zolak and Bertrand the very next day for his weekly interview, and they asked him, "Hey Joe, did you regret not taking that timeout?" And he said, "Not at the beginning, because they wanted Brunson on the floor. They wanted to exploit that matchup." He did pretty much hint at that. Once that last possession started to go sideways, he should have called a timeout. But the fact that he didn't take the quick timeout as soon as Brunson shot the free throws, I understand that. I think the real second guess in Game 2 is utilizing the Mitchell Robinson hack-a-mitch right before the 2-minute last 2 minutes of the game, where you got them in the bonus, and then they got to take Mitchell Robinson out, and that foul on Brunson with 18 seconds to go or whatever it was ends up deciding the game, where it may have not been a shooting foul. So that's the second guess I have at Joe in Game 2. Game 3, I thought he had his finger on the pulse of that game from the get-go. Anytime the Knicks started to get on a run or get a little bit of momentum, it was a quick timeout. He had his finger on the pulse in Game 3. He's got to do it again in Game 4. I loved his quote at the end of Game 3, where he had basically told the guys, you got to embrace your darkness. You got to be comfortable at getting uncomfortable, is what it comes down to. We got what's the word I'm searching for? Spoiled last year in the Celtics playoff run, where we really didn't have any nights where we lost sleep over a Celtics playoff game. It was easy sailing from the get-go. No series went past 5 games. We never lost 2 in a row. But for the vast majority of playoff runs for any team in any sport, you're going to get tested at some point. And this is the hardest test that the Celtics have had in the last 2 years. And let's see if they respond. Everyone crying that after Game 2 that the series was over. No, it's not. With Joe Mazzulla as the head coach the last 2 years, I said before, they've won roughly 80% of their games. Why is it impossible for a team that has 2 years of data to show they win at an 80% clip to not win 4 out of the next 5 games? Because last time I checked, 4 out of 5 is 80%. So you're just asking them to win at the same percentage that they've done the last 2 years. And they were the best road team by a wide margin this year at, what was it, 33-9 or 31-9? Maybe I should do my math. Whatever the hell the number was. They lost 9 games at home on the road all year. So Joe's going to be fine. Joe's system of shooting threes, and it's really not shooting threes, it's taking the best shot available. And in game 1, where people harped on the 63s, 56 of them were either open or wide open, and the NBA has a stat to measure that. It's what? Open is within 4 feet of the closest defender, and wide open is 6 feet. 56 of the 60 shots from 3 were at least open. They only took 4 contested threes in game 1. They just weren't making them. But you know what? At the end of the day, the best shot is always the open shot. I'd rather them take a wide open 3 and miss it, and then trying to drive it into the paint and force it up over the power forward or the center on a wild shot just because it's in the paint. And next thing you know, New York gets a rebound and it's 5-on-4 in transition the other way. Don't force it. Take the open shot. Water finds its level. And I'm sorry to go off on a tangent like this. It just, the last week since the New York series started and how those games transpired, and just hearing everyone come out of the woodwork just drove me up a wall, because a lot of people don't watch. Hell, we even know that NBA on TNT guys, Chuck and Shaq and all of them, don't watch a lot of Celtics games. If you heard Chuck right before the Knicks series started, he said last year in the postseason, Porzingis was basically our wild card. He was the one that put us over the top. Last I checked, Porzingis played in 4 playoff games last year. So clearly Chuck doesn't watch the Celtics. When Porzingis is on the court, it is a different variable. And when he's right, it's basically a cheat code. Absolutely. But last year, we didn't have Porzingis for the playoff run for a vast majority of it. And the Jays still got it done. So the people who don't watch the Celtics day in and day out, trying to say they got to change things up, drives me up a wall, because they don't pay attention to the X's and O's. They look at the stat sheet and it's a caveman view of basketball. Shot doesn't go in means bad shot. Shot goes in. Great. Think, you play baseball. Batter hits a hard line drive to center field, but it's right at the center fielder and it's caught. Is it a bad at bat? No.
So is everyone agreeing that Celtics in 6?
Yes. It might go 7, but I have Celtics in 6.
I got Celtics in 6.
I think the Celtics win the series either 6 or 7.
Nate?
You already know I was Celtics in 6. I don't think it's going to be as easy as we were already pre-crowning them, but I still like them coming out of the series.
Tony?
I think we get it done in 6 as well, but I mean, let's be real. We should be a little bit scared of the Knicks right now. And I know you're thinking I'm overestimating them by saying that just by what you said, but we already dropped 2 to them. And we go down 3-1. I'm not saying we couldn't come back from that, but that's a scary reality that we could face.
They won't go down 3-1. They beat them 4 straight times in the regular season in dominating fashion. They shot bad in 2 games and were in those games. One went to overtime. The other one they lost by 1, and they were up 20 in both of those games. They will not lose this series.
Let's play devil's advocate then. Let's say they do go down 3-1. How are you feeling about that?
This is a team that wins at an 80% clip. Nick just brought you through the stats. They will not lose 2 more games in this series.
And I'll go back to can they lose this series? Yes, you can always lose a series. I would say, am I nervous? Yes. Am I panicking? No, and that's the same view as I had after game 2 when they were down 0-2. Because at the end of the day, yes, they blew 2 big leads that they shouldn't have. Like, we can all admit that they should not have lost games 1 and 2 when you're up by 20. But at the end of the day, you play like crap in 2 fourth quarters. You shoot historically bad that it's been hit over our heads since game 1. They missed 45 threes and they went 25 of 100 in the first 2 games. All that, and in 8 regulation quarters in games 1 and 2, they were outscored by 1 point. Basically, just play mediocre and you're going to win by double digits. You play with your head up your ass for a quarter or 2, and now you're in a dogfight. And when you get the Knicks in a dogfight, that's where I get a little nervous. But if you just play basketball that they're capable of, you're top to bottom the better team. And usually in the NBA, the better team does find a way to win in a 7-game series. You get upsets every now and again, so I'm not saying it's not impossible. Yeah,
Tony,
okay.
you got it for us, my
Getting
man.
cut off here.
Well, I think it's time for Tony's 2 minutes. We'll get back on the scoreboard. We haven't done this in a while. Just a refresher for all that's home. We're going to have these 3 guys answer a random question, any kind of trivia question that I decide to pick. All different kinds of games, ways we play. But I'll explain the rules because as Nick is always on me about explaining the rules. So I'll make sure these rules are explained very simply. Unlimited guesses. There'll be no negative points, but you do have to raise your hand. And once you guess once, you have to wait till someone else goes at least once to be able to raise your hand again and guess. Okay? Pretty simple. Since me and Fink just graduated, I'm going to hit you with a music question from one of the best albums of all time, the Graduation album by Kanye West. What year did this album come out? Fink.
2015.
Incorrect.
I was thinking it was older than that. I'll go 13. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I have my hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Nick, go ahead, and then Nate, I'll go to you.
I was going to say 2007.
That's correct.
What?
Wow. I
What?
thought there was going to take a few more guesses than that. Nick, explain how you got that. Are you a Kanye West fan?
I am not a Kanye West fan, but I honestly thought it came out before the whole him and Taylor Swift shit. And I knew that was roughly like 2009, 2010. So I just guessed a random year before that.
Well, Nick's adding to his lead now on the scorecards with that guess. Confirmed Kanye
man.
West fan, even though he's denying it. He's 100% a Kanye West fan.
I think I might have like 2 songs out of the 5,000 on my phone being Kanye West, so it's not a high percentage.
This game is so stupid. All right, it's time to switch gears into the Red Sox. Kind of a 500 start, like we've become expected to, I guess, these last couple of years. But how do you guys feel, putting the record aside? Like, how are you feeling? I'm going to start with you, Nate.
Not great. Not great. I mean, if you look at the way that they have played baseball thus far this year, they score early and they blow it late. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the first 3 innings across the league. And they're one of the lowest scoring leagues in innings 4 through 9. They're one of the lowest scoring teams in innings 4 through 9. And so that, coupled with a bullpen that was supposed to be a strength coming into this year, we all thought the additions of Chapman, which he's been really, really solid, but adding him to a Slayton and a healthy Whitlock and a Liam Hendricks, who was supposed to be the closer out the gate, and he's looked better of late. But I mean, it was a rough start for him.
He's looked good.
Yeah, he's looked better of late. But I mean, to that point, the depth of the bullpen has not proven to be what we initially thought it was. And I mean, adding Newcomb back there is certainly beneficial, but it's been a very frustrating watch because essentially, if they're not winning after 3, they're a team that is, in a dogfight just to be competitive the last 6 innings of the game.
So is there any hope that that can be changed, or you think there's no way they can figure out how to score late in baseball games?
No, there's hope for sure, but I just think that this team, with the expectations that we were coming into this year with, it's very frustrating the way that they've been playing. It doesn't seem as though they're making those in-game adjustments, and then as soon as we get to another team's bullpen, when you have these more specialty arms that are coming out throwing 100 plus, or has a nasty sweeper slider combo, or sinker slider combo, excuse me. It's those guys that seem to be just absolutely shutting us down. We're still striking out way too much.
And Nate, you
Well,
hit on too with the high velo guys that they face. They struggle with, like Trevor Story. Even last night when he hit the 3-run homer, it was off a 88-mile-per-hour changeup or sinker, whatever, off-speed pitch down in the zone. You throw Story or any of these guys, for the most part, 97, 98, they're not touching it. And that's why they struggle late in innings, because everybody coming out of the bullpen now is throwing balls.
isn't that fair to say a lot of teams struggle to hit late inning relievers? That's why they're there.
Brian Presley got hit around the other night.
Sucks. That's why the Astros weren't too mad letting him go.
Just saying. Put up a 9 spot.
Hey, I've done that plenty of times.
I was
Go look at my
gonna
stats.
I was going to say,
No, I mean,
but on the
this
flip
team has been
side,
frustrating.
the guys don't see, like Nate was saying, guys, opposing lineups don't seem to struggle too much off of our bullpen lately.
I mean, here and there, like Slayton and Whitlock have been bad, but then 2 days later they both throw fine in the next game. So it just depends. Like Chapman's been unhittable. He has like a 2-1. He's been good. Hendricks has been very good for not pitching in 2 years, battling cancer, getting hurt, coming back. He's been fine. If they would just keep Guerrero up, that would be nice. I mean, the guy doesn't give up runs, and they just keep sending him down. But Bernardino's been fine. Newcomb's been good since he got into the pen. I mean, I want to see how this next stretch goes because it's a pretty tough stretch. They go to Detroit, I think. Do they have another one in Kansas City, or is it now Detroit?
Detroit.
And then Atlanta at home, starting Friday. Chris Sale versus Garrett Crochet.
That's going to be must watch.
Trying to get tickets to that game right now, actually.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game.
Can I bring something up?
Yes.
Because I think the viewers who stayed with us to listen to Red Sox talk are specifically wanting to hear a specific topic. And I just want to throw this out because I know Nate has some thoughts on this. Nate, what are your thoughts on the Raffy Devers situation?
I would like to hear. I'm gonna throw it to Finkel first so that we can hear the Mr. Positive side of things. Because
yeah, and yes, I am stirring the pot. I wanted to do.
I absolutely loved it.
Nate, I noticed your name there. I like that.
yes, thank you. For the listeners at home, it is Mr. Right. That is me,
Mr.
baby.
Right. I like that. Someone changed my name before I logged in, but I made sure to change it back.
So, Finkel, what do you think about Raffy Devers and his comments coming after the Cassis injury and then the subsequent asking him to play first base?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, does it look great? Probably not, but was it awesome? Would I have done it? Maybe, but was it awesome? Yes, and I support Raffy because this is a guy, they signed Bregman. Obviously, so Heim Bloom signs Raffy to this big deal, says you're going to be third base forever. They get rid of Heim. It's a new regime. Craig Breslow comes in. They get Bregman this year, and they try and move Raffy off third. Okay, he doesn't really take it that well. Finally does it. Finally becomes a DH. Starts the season, worst start of his career, worst start in MLB history, some might add. Goes through that. Gets out of it. Starts finding his routine. You see the pictures of him sitting on the dugout steps, starting to find that DH routine, starting to get into that group. You see, like he gets in that routine. It's tough to just move around, and then they approach him and say, "Yeah, do you want to play first base?" After telling him He doesn't need his glove anymore. Put it away. I think he had all the right in the world to say what he did. And I mean, there's stuff on Twitter like the translator didn't even translate it right. Some of it was like false translations, I guess. So
Yeah,
but
he made it. He sugarcoated it because Raffy was tearing the team apart, and they needed to protect the team because he was being a jackass.
I disagree. I'm going to need to see more on that. But I mean, what's he do the day after? Goes 4-for-4. What's he do today? Opens the game with a single, then hits a 2-run moonshot dead center. This is a good pitching team.
On a
It's Seth
92-mile-per-hour fastball.
Okay, what you can't beggars can't be choosers. You want them to score out on
That's
runs.
credit for-
You got to point on what pitches he's hitting. Like
No,
you can't not have it both ways just because he says stuff. Sure.
No, but the problem is the way that he approached it. Because the way that he approached the move to DH went all wrong. He's a guy that he bitched out the management 2 years ago because we didn't do enough to add. He wants to win.
Was he wrong?
Then he signs last offseason, and he bitched that they didn't do enough and, their window is shrinking. Okay.
Was he
so
wrong?
he wants to win, but he's not willing to do what's best for the team to win.
How is putting him at first base with no experience best for the team? How is that going to help?
Because
us
then
win?
we can get a guy like Roman Anthony in the lineup. Then we can get a guy like Masataka Yoshida in the lineup and not have to strike out as much.
I don't think that's.
and we don't need to have to have Nick Sogard in the lineup instead of Roman Anthony.
Couldn't play defense.
Fink,
2
you
years
said
ago.
you didn't know. Fink, you said that you didn't know if you would have responded the same way that Raffy did. What position did you play in high school baseball?
Pitcher and catcher.
Okay, what kind of pitcher were you?
I was
were you a
that
starting
guy.
pitcher or pitcher?
Yeah, I was a starting pitcher.
Okay.
He was.
When you played college baseball, what kind of pitcher were you?
A reliever, shitty reliever.
Okay, so you were a relieving pitcher. So the team asked you to change your position.
They didn't ask me to
What
do it
did you
twice.
do?
They didn't ask me to do
You-
it twice in the same month. After telling me to put
But
my
would
glove
you
away.
have?
Yeah, but I don't really have a position to say no.
Okay,
I'm not making
okay.
$330 million. I'm playing
All the more
D3.
reason that you should just do what's in the best.
I don't
interest
think
of
that's
the
a
team.
good point, though. That the money.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the money makes him not a team player? Like
That's not what I'm saying.
you
If-
said,
if
if you had 330 million, it might
Rafael
be different.
Devers makes us win is because of his bat, not because he should play first base. Tristan Casas
Okay.
is and still
Okay,
may still be
Fink,
the future
Fink,
first baseman.
Fink.
He's pretty bad at defense, and this guy's been playing it his whole life. They tried to put Kyle Schwarber over there, who was willing to do it, and it didn't go well. So you're just gonna
What
throw
do
him over
Rafael
there.
Devers and Kyle Schwarber have in common?
They mash, but at least Kyle Schwarber is like somewhat athletic.
That's it. Rafael Devers is a natural infielder. Kyle Schwarber was a natural catcher and
Our whole
outfielder.
thing was he couldn't play third because he's bad over there. Why do you want him back in the infield?
Because I want his bat in the lineup, and I want to be able to lengthen the lineup so that we don't have a guy like Nick Sogard playing first base. Or we don't have to think about signing Anthony Rizzo off his couch or Dom Smith out of AAA again.
I wouldn't hate
The
BBS.
reason that we do not have Roman Anthony, the number one prospect in baseball, is absolutely killing AAA in this lineup today is because of Rafael Devers. And so
Roman
if he's a
Anthony
team first player and he wants to win, this is not the way to do it because he's not putting the best 9 guys out there every single night.
Roman Anthony over his last 3 weeks has 19 singles and 19 strikeouts with no home runs.
Sweet.
So I
So
mean
are
I'd
you-
rather. I
Are
don't
you
want
saying
that
you'd
in my
rather have
lineup.
Nick Sogard than Roman Anthony?
I mean, yeah, you made a good defensive play. Raffy wouldn't have made it yesterday.
I don't think you know that.
I have a fairly good idea. I just can't see the reason you
Hey,
want a guy who's bad at defense and was taken out of the infield for a reason to then go to first, which is a fairly important position. He's got to learn where to go for cuts, what to back up, how to defend bunts, all these things.
You're acting as if he has all this responsibility that he had that takes him away from the ball field and the one thing that he's done his entire life and play baseball. Like if you look at any other example, we were looking at Nolan Arenado this year that said, "I will play first base," and he is the greatest defensive third baseman of our generation, and he was willing to swap sides of the diamond for a team that he's never played for before.
That's because his career is at the tail end. He's never won, and he wants to win. That's why.
Because he's a team first guy. What about Xander
Okay,
Bogaerts?
What if he was
Xander Bogaerts is Raffy Devers' big brother. He signs a
Xander
mega
Bogaerts
deal in
years ago
San Diego,
Boston,
and he immediately switches to second
Xander
base. There's
Bogaerts
no
said
issue.
the same thing in Boston, though. Xander Bogaerts said the same thing. He said, "I'm the shortstop. Why would I move?"
Because he was on an expiring deal, and shortstops get paid significantly more than second baseman. That was a money play, and nobody faulted him for that.
I'm faulting him now.
Devers already has his money,
Yeah,
and he says he wants to make the team win.
And they told him he's the DH, and that's what he's doing.
Fink, can I ask you a
And they
question?
asked him to play first base, and he said no. Because
Fink,
he's
can
acting
I
like a
ask you a
child.
question?
Yeah, Nick,
Fink,
what's up? If this was the
would
real
you-
world,
would you consider Alex Rodriguez a good teammate, or was he a shitty teammate? Was Alex Rodriguez a shitty guy? I think we all agree that Alex Rodriguez was a shitty ass teammate
yeah,
for
but
the
he was the
vast
best
majority.
shortstop of all time, and he moved over to third base for Derek Jeter to stay at short, even though he was the better defender.
Damn straight.
Okay, but
Damn
it's a different
straight.
era. It's a different era.
Okay, so same era. We have a guy in Fernando Tatis Jr., also a Latin player that has the same, loyalty to positions, the same pride. And then he goes and he was not a good shortstop. So they move him to center field and he's immediately a Gold Glove candidate.
And didn't he play first base a little bit too?
What'd you say, Fink?
Doesn't he play right?
He might play right now that Jackson Merrill's up, but he initially made the
There's also
transition to
injuries.
center
He
field.
was getting hurt playing shortstop too, and they wanted to move him to keep him healthy as well.
Can I ask one thing? Fink, if you
course.
thought Raffy Devers playing first base would make the team better, would you want him to play first base?
Yes.
And so your reasoning is you don't think he'll be a good first baseman, and it'll be.
I don't think he will be a good first
okay.
baseman.
That's completely fine. That's completely
That's
fine.
my argument.
My problem is why not at least attempt it?
To stay at third.
I'm saying
I don't
I'm
care.
saying go attempt it. That's my problem with Raffy Devers.
Someone makes a crappy throw, a good first baseman can pick it. If Bregman, which he's been better as of late, but he makes crappy throws here and there, you think Raffy's just going to get down there and just scoop it up like it's ice cream? No. If he was hitting, yeah, but I just can't see him learning first base.
Honestly, don't even care if he'd be a bad
time.
first baseman. I just don't like that he's not going to even try. That's what angers
It's
me.
how he handled it. It's how he handled it.
I kind of agree with you. I don't think he would be the best first baseman, but if the team thinks that's what's best, he should try to do that.
So you think it's fine?
Yeah, let's be very clear. That is not my argument. Is that he would be a good first baseman? That is not my argument.
Nick, Nate, I'm with you. I can see what you're saying. You just want him to, because the team wants him to.
He handled it all wrong. And the fact that he, as a team guy, that he is committed to this team for an extended period of time, he wanted the GM, go do your job and bring somebody else. So you mean you want to sacrifice assets for the future to bring in a guy that may or may not make a positive impact just because you're not willing to be flexible? You're not willing to put the team first.
I don't know if they would have to give up future assets. I mean, you could sign.
How is it not future assets? Any prospect is future assets as well as capital.
Anthony Rizzo to a tiny deal. That's $200,000 isn't future assets. That's like a homestand in concessions.
Okay, so what you're saying is you would rather the team go out and sign Anthony Rizzo off of his couch.
Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think he was saying, trade the farm and bring first baseman.
Then who plays first base? Because it would be completely different. It would be completely different if Cassis was underperforming and they came to Raffy and said, "We want you to take his place." But they didn't plan for this. They didn't plan for Cassis to go down for a season-ending injury.
He had been underperforming.
Perhaps career-ending injury.
That is true, but we don't know that yet. Why haven't they asked Trevor Story? You brought up in our group chat the other day, or maybe a couple weeks ago, how Trevor Story's not grading out as a good defensive shortstop. Why wouldn't you want to move him over and bring up Meyer, who is actually tearing up AAA up to over 30 or up? Yeah, AAA. Sorry, I don't know why I just had a brain fart there, but up to over 30 30 RBIs, a lot of home runs, hitting the cover off the ball. Why wouldn't you want to move Trevor Story over, who is like a good defender, has been a good defender, and could probably learn fairly quickly, and is an athletic guy, then and then have Meyer come up. Why don't you want to talk about that?
I feel like that's and don't get me wrong, like I acknowledge that either I was or agreed with that premise of it was an option, but I don't think that is as natural of a progression as just simply asking the guy that wanted to be in the field. He wanted to be
They
in the
wanted him
field.
to DH, and now he wants to DH. He wants to stay at DH like they want, and now
But also,
they want him to go to first.
and-
I know Joel got hurt, yes, but this is also not on Raffy. This is on Craig, because how do you not have a backup plan somewhere if someone does get hurt? You have no other first baseman even in the organization. You have Abraham.
I'm not saying Craig did it right, because his lack of communication through this whole process is what has led us here. And
why is
his
it all on
reservation in terms of but I mean, but the fact that
Raffy's just a player, that's it. He does as he's told, but if he keeps getting told all these other things,
he's not doing as he's told.
Okay, first of all, he was asked. He wasn't told you're playing first. They said, "Would you consider?" And he said, "No." Tell
They
him
asked,
that.
would you play first base? And he said no. They asked him, would you move to DH? He said, I'm the third baseman. He's been the opposite of flexible. He's been the opposite of a teammate and team first guy. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, to jump back to the Trevor Story part, Trevor Story also hasn't come out and bashed the organization like Raffy did last Thursday, which, can I just say, is how Raffy did it on Thursday was pretty much a chicken shit move. You wait, you don't talk to the media for 4 or 5 days, where these reports were out there. Cora was talking to the media saying, we're not going to make Raffy go to first. We're not going to, like, the reports were already rumbling. You wait until Thursday on a getaway day to Kansas City, where the media isn't going to be there as much as it would be at home or a big market like New York or LA or anything like that. Not much media goes to the Tampa Bay of the Midwest in Kansas City. You shoot your mouth off like you did Thursday afternoon, because you know you were about to jump on a plane and you got to avoid answering it with your home media for a few days. But guess what? On the flip side of that, on the flip side of that, I want to thank Raffy for doing that, because it also led to the best thing that the Red Sox ownership has done in many, many years. John Henry, what we wanted all season was to be a more hands-on owner, wanted him to care more. What does he do? He jumps his ass on a plane to go take that cigar that he lit up the night of they signed Alex Bregman, to shove it up Raffy's ass so he's coughing out smoke because he's throwing a temper tantrum. John, thank you, and welcome to the 2020s, that you're back. You showed that you care, because I don't think John Henry is jumping on a plane to Kansas City to go see where Taylor Swift stays when the Chiefs have a home game. He's there to kick the ass of the guy he signed a $313 million check to for acting like a fucking child.
So if that was the case, why is he not at first? Clearly wasn't the case. If that was the case, he would be playing first, getting reps at first, but that hasn't happened. So that's definitely
no. That's not John Henry's role to tell him where he is and isn't going to play. His role is to say, you can't be insubordinate to your management team, the guy that is running this team. That's why Sam Kennedy was there. That's why Craig Breslow was there. You can't be outwardly insubordinate like that. That's a bad look on the organization. It's a bad look on him as an athlete. It's a bad look on him as an employee, which he is with the second that he signed that long-term deal.
And Craig Breslow basically told us that in his comments on either Friday or Saturday, when he said John sat down and talked to him about what we think our organization views what a good teammate is. Craig Breslow basically told us he's not being a good teammate, and they had to talk to him about what being a good teammate for the Boston Red Sox looks like, because he didn't do it. And I applaud John Henry, which me applauding John Henry, it might be the hardest thing I ever have to do, and give that man credit. He deserves credit for what he did this weekend.
And the other thing that I'll add there,
all the power in this situation.
The other thing that I'll add there is the fact that Raffy went as far to say is, oh, what happens next? An outfielder gets hurt and they're going to move me into the outfielder? Shut the fuck up, Raffy. Grow
wrong.
up. Grow up.
If Crochet gets hurt, are they going to ask him to throw?
No, of course not.
You don't know that. He's never played first, and they want him to play first.
Kevin Youkilis had never played first before they moved him from third base to first base, and he was a Gold Glove. It's a natural progression.
Miguel Cabrera never played first base, and he went from right field to third base to first base. And he put up Triple Crown numbers. He was first ballot Hall of Famer. Might be unanimous.
And he never bitched and moaned once.
These are guys that we weren't complaining about their defense over an extended period of time.
I completely disagree. So here's where I'm at on Raffy Devers. We have spoken at length on this podcast about specifically Raffy Devers and his shortcomings. Is he a great player? Absolutely. He's a great hitter. Absolutely. I am ready to trade Raffy Devers. I am ready to trade him partly because of the return that we'll get. We will get a return that will then shape the franchise for years and years to come. And we will get a guy that clearly he shows up to camp out of shape. He pouts all preseason because nobody told him that, I might have to DH. When I'm statistically one of the worst third basemen of in the league. And then he goes on his entire rant of the streak rather of over 22 with 19 strikeouts or something like that to start the year because he came in unprepared. And he needed and they didn't even ask him to. I don't even consider the change from third base to DH a change of position because you're not doing anything else. You're doing half of the job that you were before. And it's not as if he's never played DH before, because guess what? Anytime that we needed him off his feet at third base, he was playing DH.
Yeah, but it's just a different adjustment on a day-to-day. Like, guys like to go out in the field if they have a rough at bat. Go out there, get your mind off and make a play and help the team in that way. If you start over 22 and you have nothing else to do but sit there in your own thoughts constantly going through that, like, that's awful.
Okay, yeah. And to back up, Raffy had obviously a clear frustration from being the third baseman to the DH and how that all transpired in the communication. He had a legitimate gripe. Like, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been frustrated about the lack of communication. He should, and I don't blame him for being mad. But now moving from DH to first base, he has no right to be mad because it wasn't part of the plan. This is adjusting on the fly, and it's a break glass scenario. And the move from third base to DH should have no relevance in moving from DH to first base. Like, you can be mad about third base to DH, but the move from DH to first base isn't predicated on because you went out and signed his replacement. It's predicated on because your teammate may never play again. And if he does play again, and probably won't be in with the Boston Red Sox at this point with Tristan Cassis. You just saw a guy, your friend, your teammate, the guy you share a clubhouse with, blow out his knee and potentially end his career. And you don't want to help pick him up. You don't want to help pick your team up when clearly Craig Breslow wasn't planning on Tristan Cassis blowing out his knee. This is simply because what Craig thinks is the best case scenario is to put Raffy at first. And Raffy pouts. Now, to his credit, he's responded at the plate this weekend. He does deserve credit. I know I made the kind of quick quip at the 92-mile-per-hour fastball. He responded and he produced at the plate. Good for him. He better, because he hasn't done a hell of a lot more else to be a good teammate.
Bye.
You guys done?
Bye, Raffy. I'm done with him.
Nice. He's going to be here for about 8 more years.
He's got no leadership skills. Like, we had to bring in Bregman to be a leader.
Okay.
He gets paid to be a superstar, and all he's going to do is bitch and moan, come in out of shape.
At the end of the day, if he is going to be a DH for the next 8 years, I really don't want to pay $40 million or $35 million a year for a DH.
I'm not even concerned about that part. It's not my money, but
Okay.
I have
Fair
no.
point. That's our motto.
I have no time or energy to support somebody that clearly doesn't care to the level that he should about
I
his
don't know if
team.
you can say he doesn't care. I think he cares.
I think he cares about himself.
Finkel, did you change your name? Because whoever did that is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, Tony the Dick Kennedy for you.
Tony giving us a parting gift before he left. Thank you,
I don't
Tony.
even know how to change it for anybody else. That's good. That's good.
I just had to look at my phone.
He's so annoying. What's it even say? I can't even see it.
Devers butt
Devers
buddy.
butt buddy.
Well, I mean, guy helps us win baseball games. I mean, okay, tell me this then. What are we getting for him? I saw the mock Cubs trade, like Matt Shaw, Moses Monastero, a pitcher. Okay.
I like the one Nate told me off to the side last night. So Nate,
Where's the
I'll let you
production?
share that
Yeah,
one.
where's someone that's going to come in right away, hit 20 to 30 home runs with a lot of RBIs and have an OBP at almost 400?
Trade him to the Phillies for Alec Bohm and Andrew Painter.
Alec Bohm's your
I do
solution. Have that said in a game.
No. The solution is Andrew Painter. Alex Bohm is just the fill-in. Andrew Painter is the piece of that puzzle because Andrew Painter would be your best pitching prospect in this organization since John Lester. And Craig has always said that since he got here that he wants to build a pitching pipeline. You bring in a blue chip pitching prospect that's on the verge of being in the big league level, and you trade him to a guy that loved Raffy Devers, who refused to trade Raffy Devers for Chris Sale and Dave Dombrowski. That's a natural fit to line up a deal. And the Phillies are in World Series or bust mode where we're on the ascend. So,
and would you look at that? Their first baseman, Bryce Harper, also a guy that transitioned positions for the betterment of the team. Imagine that. And everybody talks about how Bryce is so selfish.
Because he kept getting hurt.
What's that?
I think it was for him too, because they wanted to keep him on the field because he kept getting hurt.
Yep. Perhaps. But it sounds like they asked him to do what was in
Alex
for the
Bohm
team.
and Andrew Painter would would easily do that.
I would do it for Andrew
sign
Painter.
that contract in a heartbeat.
Could you imagine Garrett Crochet, Andrew Painter in the same rotation for years to come, and a lineup centered around Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Jaron Duran, Christian Campbell. Sorry, Campbell. I didn't mean to make you an afterthought.
I'm in. Can we sign Kyle Schwarber in the offseason?
Yeah.
Tell me what the term is, and I'm in.
3 for $80.
Deal.
I know you're just pulling that out of your ass, but I mean,
it's probably what he's going to do.
I could not care less about what the money looks like.
Well, I'm not so much concerned about the dollars. I was concerned about the length.
Now it was term. What 3 for 66.
I don't know what he signed when he left us.
I think it was 3 for 66.
Did you know? So I just heard this on a podcast, and this is just an off to the side comment. But the Cubs, after their 2016 World Series, and they non-tendered Kyle Schwarber and let him leave, it was because they did not want to sign him to a 1-year, $8 million deal.
Whew.
Oops.
What year was that?
That was the 17 and season.
So that was when Theo was still there. That's when Theo probably wants to have back. Ugh.
Yeah, that was really the only one because they deconstructed that entire World Series team with Chris Bryant in Colorado, and Rizzo went to New York and really didn't do much.
Lester got old and went to St. Louis. Like, they had a good young core there in Chris Bryant, Javi Baez. Rizzo was the vet in that locker room, but that 2016 team, man, I remember I rooted for the Cubs so hard that October after we got eliminated, simply because
Same.
of all the Red Sox connections, and there was a lot of connections on at the time the Indians, but now the Guardians too, with Tito and Coco Crisp, Andrew Miller. There's a few others on that team that I'm missing, forgetting about, who had Red Sox. Mike Napoli. But that 2016 Cubs team, like, you had Theo, Lackey, Lester, Grandpa Rossi. Rizzo was with us in the minor leagues. Like, there's so many connections in that World Series, and that Game 7 was one of the all-time best baseball games ever played. And I could not imagine being a Cubs fan during that Game 7, because as a neutral fan, my heart was in my throat, like, how that game went down the stretch. And I know we're going away from Boston sports here for a couple minutes, but that Game 7, Nate, I'm glad you brought up 2016, because that was one of the all-time great World Series.
Fink, what do you think? Let's close this thing out unless you have any other Devers thoughts.
I mean, I really hope they don't trade him. I don't think
At the end of the day,
the reason Roman Anthony is not up is because of him. I don't think it's because Raffy won't go to first. What were they going to do if Casas didn't get hurt? He still is not up.
Right, but then you're working from a position of depth, and now there isn't a position of depth. It's more of operating from a position of need.
Why can't Roman play first?
So you're going to transition your.
No, I don't want him to. I'm just wondering, why haven't they asked him? They want the back.
You know who I think should be, like, so this is my ideal.
Does it start with Vaughn?
No, is Christian Campbell goes to first base.
Marcelo
Meyer comes up to play one of the middle positions with Story, or at shortstop or second base, and then you can bring up Roman whenever he's ready, and Rafaela goes to that fourth outfielder spot or super utility guy.
And I think that's what needs to happen. I mean, Rafael's looked better as of late, and obviously the defense is unreal, but you need a consistent stick, and bringing up Meyer and Anthony opens things up a lot more and deepens the lineup more than putting Raffy to first.
But Raffy to first is a potential key to do it. But Nate, you brought up Christian Campbell to first base. There's a guy should have a gripe about being asked to switch positions day in, day out. Like, he's trying to establish himself as a big leaguer and get used to big league pitching and all that. And they're changing him from second base to center field to left field, all in the first month of his big league career. And he hasn't done it and complained about it at all. So now you're asking Christian Campbell to play his fourth position in a month and a half. And Devers doesn't want to go from DH to first, when the kid has more maturity than the vet.
And I don't want to pay my student loan bills.
But what
guess
happens
what?
if you don't?
There's consequences. Like, Raffy has every right to bitch and complain and feel upset. He also has to know that there's consequences to.
Cora was saying the same stuff. Cora was saying, no, I'm not going to ask him. He's my DH. And then 2 days later, he's going back on his word, saying, well, the door's not closed. We'll talk about it more. Like, it's mixed messaging from your manager. It's non-communication from Craig Breslow. It's all and I still go back to the fact that we have no one else that can play first, and that's Like, that's why we're here. Obviously, Casas got hurt, but how do we have nobody else? I mean,
can I just
even
can I
Bobby
just
Dalbec
can I
would've
have can I have a can I have a call back to our very first Red Sox episode of the Boston Banner Blueprint when I brought up this exact same thing where I wanted depth, big league depth at every position on the field, and I didn't want the Dom Smiths of the world being our backups. And you
Dom Smith,
said we can't
I'd be
have
fine
that.
with Dom Smith.
So guess what? This is
Point-
why I brought it up 2 months ago,
Points still
3
not
months
valid.
ago, whatever.
Have anyone. Dom Smith would have been fine. We do not have a soul.
Well,
I'd be fine with anyone.
Dom
but
Smith would have been better than Nick Sogard. I
I'm fine with
agree, but
Abraham Toro.
Dom Smith would not be better than Raffy.
I'm fine with Abraham Toro.
I'd rather
I
have
like-
Raffy. I'd rather have Raffy and Meyer or Raffy and Anthony in the lineup more than Raffy and Toro or Raffy and Sogard.
All right,
That's
fair.
the issue. It's not. It's not who's playing first. It's who's getting in the lineup because Raffy's playing first.
I think Nate's idea is the best. It opens up 2 spots for 2 more good bats. I mean, Christian Campbell was supposed to be the 3rd best guy out of Meyer and Anthony, and right now, I mean, he kind of propelled himself to like 2nd, I guess. Meyer got hurt and all that stuff, but look how he jumped on the scene and adjusted fairly quickly. Yeah, recently it's been like up and down, but why can't Anthony and Meyer come in and hit right away? This lineup needs a little bit of a spark. I mean, Nate's hit on it at length how we can't score late. Bring up 2 bats that, I mean, Anthony, we know what he can do. Meyer is on fire. Bring up the guys who are playing well. Play who's playing well. Move Campbell over. I mean, the guy, you look at his MLB The Show card, he's got like 7 positions on there anyway. The only ones that's not on there is pitcher and catcher. And I'm sure he would catch if we needed him to. But I think it's time to wrap this thing up, and I want to wrap it up by saying Nick has something to say.
Like, I want to wrap it up by going back to how we start. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to wrap it up by talking about a team real quickly in town that we haven't talked about tonight and that really deserved a couple seconds. The Boston Bruins getting porked once again out of a shitty season, and we got porked. We got that John Henry cigar shoved up our ass as Bruins fans this week by the ping pong balls. We had a 8% chance or whatever, 7.8% chance of getting the number 1 pick. We were sitting at pick number 5. And it's not that we didn't go up. We went all the way down to 7. We had worst case scenario. Like, talk about a kick in the ass on a season that was full of kicks in the asses. But my final thought is basically Brad Marchand trying to help us out as much as he can down the stretch to turn this shitty season and shittier draft lottery and started the offseason into at least something positive to get us that second first round pick, because it's definitely not a high top of the first round pick. We're still in the top 10, but we're picking number 7.
My final thought, pretty simple. Just to recap on some of the things that we've touched on is season 6, bye-bye Raffy. That's it for me.
Yeah, for me, I'm just very intrigued to see how the season plays out. It's been a lot of 500 baseball to start, but I mean, one thing we didn't even talk about though was Garrett Crochet and how dominant he was yesterday in the second game of the Kansas City series. That
Oink,
is
oink.
why you extend him. He's exactly. Oink oink to keep it short and sweet. But no, I mean, I still do believe this team can make the playoffs. It's not how you start the season. It's not how you play 42 games in. Look at the Astros last year. They started so bad and went on a run. And the reason I think that can happen is because we have someone who was a key in that run, Alex Bregman. I think we signed him to be that leader. I mean, he's playing out of his mind, but I think the ship's going to be all right. Things will be fine. We'll make the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens. Just got to get into the dance. Nate, what do you got for me?
All I got is for exactly where people to find us on our socials, and that starts on Twitter /X at Boston Banner BP, Boston Banner Blueprint on both Facebook and Instagram, boston.banner.blu on TikTok. Go like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, and share with your friends and family on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Appreciate everybody listening to this long-winded episode, but we had a lot to say.
Yeah, but before we go, we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming, probably twice a week here soon. Get more content out on the socials, YouTube Shorts, that'll be up soon. I'm excited for that. Get more content out, more on the TikTok, more on the Twitter. We got to stop getting those warnings that we're going to get banned for spam, but we'll figure that out. But thanks for watching, everyone.